All right, welcome to another exciting edition of the program, The Desk on Global Television. Time for us to look at salient issues making the rounds across the globe and definitely in Nigeria and the subnational levels as we look at very important issues of debate across the world. My name is Anthony Momodi. Welcome to today's edition of the program, The Desk. Today is the 21st day of August 2024. We're reaching the business end of this month, and so we've got very interesting talking points. We'll begin from the United States of America, where Barack Obama has told fellow Democrats in Chicago that the torch has been passed to Kamala Harris, that the United States was ready for her to become president. Former President Obama, who was greeted with rapturous applause and cheers at the Parked Arena hosting the party's nominating convention, said Vice President Harris would fight for Americans and called her November poll rival Donald Trump dangerous. All right, that's how I make you welcome to today's edition, and I've got my star guest in the studio ready to chew on all the big talking points on today's edition. To my far right, far left, I beg your pardon, is an ace journalist right here in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. His name, Gabriel Zakari, joining us in the live studios. Gabriel, thank you for joining us in the live studios.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
All right, we've also got Dr. Aisha Shaibu, who is a public affairs analyst and a security expert, joining us on the program to help us shed more light as regards the big talking points. Thank you, Aisha, for being here. All right, let's begin with the big story that has to do with former President of the United States of America, Barack Obama, telling fellow Democrats that the U.S. was ready for Kamala Harris to take charge of the reign of the presidency of the United States of America, and described her rival, November rival, as dangerous. Before his stand-doorstep performance, his wife and former U.S. First Lady Michelle Obama told the convention goers something magical, wonderful is in the air. Gabriel, do you agree something wonderful, magical is in the air? That's Michelle Obama talking about Kamala Harris.
All right. Of course, politicians would always have a way of choosing their words, so that they can get their target and go. But the question is how really dangerous it's Trump. And going by the fact that at the end of the day, was he really happy that Biden stepped down for Kamala? And you know what is in favor of a black president? Obama, felt it at one point, and he rode on that back to become the president of America. Now we have a female, and if you have followed the trajectory of American politics, you would realize that they always look for some kind of, should I call it, a change, from the norm. So when Trump came at his time, it was more like, he was not someone who was really into politics. He was in the business world. And when he came and he wanted to become president, the Americans gave him a try, and now we have, for the first time, apart from Hillary Clinton, who ran as, for presidency as a woman, we have a change, and she is black, and I think she's going to also ride on that reason now, to see how successful she becomes in this race.
All right, before Harris came into the picture, it looked like the Republicans were running away with victory already with Donald Trump at the top of the charts. But with the turn of events, it looks like Kamala Harris seemed to have that upper hand. How key will it be for Kamala Harris in terms of the support she's getting? Do you think Trump can be written off, or do you think Trump can be truly described as dangerous, as someone who might have some stuff off his sleeves?
Yeah. The truth of the matter here is that the both sides have a strong footing. Trump, as a person, has his own game plan. He tends to follow his manifesto through. He tells you what he wants to do, and he puts through with it. He doesn't believe in saying things from the both sides of the mouth. Sometimes And again, he is the master of the game. Coming to
Harris,
I don't think the Americans are ready to bring in a female president for now.
Why did you say that?
We saw what played out in the time of Hillary Clinton. At a point, we were already believing the fact that she was already clinging on to power. But the twist was so fast and rapid that history already has its way as we speak. And Trump has something that the people are clamoring for.
What was that?
These anti-gay, LSB, whatever they call it, and his stance on reducing the level of illegal immigrants in the system is something the people are rooting for him for. I think that is the major discrepancy in this issue. That law and that of gay, same-sex rights and stuff like that. So to some persons, they believe his ruggedity, his fearlessness, his fierceness are things that can stand to see the future of Americans.
All right, as we wrap up this talk about the U.S., let's look at it in terms of the American public now. With Obama, his large support base, and that of Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, do you think it will be enough to upstage the strong followership Donald Trump has got over time?
Yeah, actually, she was talking about what edge, Donald Trump has. Yeah. And she mentioned the border protection policy of Donald Trump. But you should also not forget how much dent, Trump's image has received in the
with the last
recent court cases, and then, a lot of people, I beg to disagree, with someone who speaks with his tongue in his cheek, double.
You think he's crafty?
Yes, crafty, and for someone who they have a case against him for almost like raping a woman, and then sleeping with a woman when his wife was 9 months pregnant and all that,
But if all that were to be looked upon or looked into, then they should have disqualified him from the race. Ideally, don't you think so?
No, but he's coming under the Republican Party, and of course his party has given him the platform to run. So,
but the law supersedes.
All right, let's see how that's going to pan out. A very interesting debate here in the studio and obviously in the US. But let's run down to Nigeria as we look at other issues. Hopefully, we're going to get the true picture. We've got Peter Obi in the news this evening as the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party. Peter Obi has said Nigerians deserve to know the cost and the age of the new presidential jet and the years it has been in operation. In a series of posts via his official X handle, the former governor of Anambra State also said Nigerians deserve to know how the old jets are disposed of, how many of them and how old they are, and why they are being sold. Do you think you have the answer to this, or do you support Peter Obi's very interesting questions?
There are so many questions that needed to be answered when it comes to that issue of the presidential jet. Is it one of the jets that were at one point grounded by the Chinese, that was released? That's the question. And then was it more like to draw some kind of sympathy or pity for the release of the jet? In the first place, with the amount that they bought that jet, should they have, invested that much? Couldn't we have done with, taking other jets or, fixing the ones that we have on ground instead of getting a brand new one? Whatever the state of the jet, it has been bought. And of course, if it was not in good standing, the president would not be flying it.
All right. How sincere do you think the presidency is? The questions will be as asked. We should know how old the jet is, how much it's been bought. Speculation says $100 million. But how long has it been in operation? It's very key, because if it's been in operation for a long time and we're still buying it for that huge amount of money, then it seems unfair. And don't you think Nigerians truly deserve to know these questions?
Absolutely.
Pays this, we are talking about taxpayers' money.
Absolutely. We deserve to know. Transparency in governance is key. But we lack that in this part of the world. Our leaders or our governors do whatever they like at any time, at any point, without having the fear of what the populace feels, or there is no empathy for the citizens. I said so because Nigeria has become a dumping ground. Look at the trains we have in operation. Those are archaic trains, locomotive kind of, that has been abandoned for years. They refurbish them and sent to us at a very high and exorbitant rate. We push in taxpayers' money into it without any recourse.
Can we hold the National Assembly responsible, because this wasn't approved before it was bought?
It's a circle. We said something here some time ago that there is a cartel in the system. You've watched my back, I watch your back. And when that is obtainable, then there's no question to what you bring to the table. Everything, anything goes. That is the system we operate here. If we are to do the right thing, to do the needful, then so many things needed to be investigated. So many things needed to be questioned. But nobody is saying anything. And a lone voice will become a scapegoat.
All right, but you have to see it in another perspective. Honestly, I must give this government to some level of credit,
for buying the jet without approval by the National Assembly.
No, not that. For once, we have a government that is allowing the opposition, to speak.
Then what happens to our freedom of speech?
Once upon a time, the presidency bought a yacht that nobody bothered to know how much it was, and it was not even used. So it was said that. But here is a government that practically everything he or she wants to acquire. She wants to acquire. The opposition will raise eyebrow and will ask questions, and they allow that. I think it's something that we should give.
I think very sincere when he just went to France, and we're not told what he went to do in France, but rather we just heard he went for a work stay in France. Do you call that sincerity?
No, but we know that he was more like a sick leave.
But why wasn't he spelled out?
How many times? In fact, you remember the former president? Yes,
Muhammadu Buhari.
He was away for several weeks before we actually knew what he was there for.
All right, let's move on to the next talking point. A very sad commentary coming out, but let's move on to, we've got the local government autonomy next as our talking point, where the federal government has inaugurated a 10-man inter-ministerial committee to enforce the Supreme Court judgment on local government autonomy. The Supreme Court had on July 11 granted local governments across the 774 local governments in the country financial autonomy. The Apex Court 7-man panel in the judgment delivered by Justice Emmanuel Agim declared that the 774 local government councils in the country should manage their funds themselves. In a statement on Tuesday, the Director of Information and Public Relations, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Shego Imo Hyo-Osing, said the federal government had set up the committee for the implementation of the judgment. We have those in as the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, the Attorney General of the Federation, and the Minister of Justice, and the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, and the Accountant General of the Federation as members of the committee. Others are the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Permanent Secretary, the Federal Ministry of Finance, and we've got the chairman, Revenue, Mobilization, Allocation, and Fiscal Commission, representatives of state governors, and representatives of local governments. Let's look at this committee. How big a task do you think it is, Zachary?
It's huge, you know, and then we hope it's not some kind of circle that we're going to enter again. You know, it is that some set of politicians, the chairman, if you like now, would become powerful. You know, these are people who, yes, were given autonomy some years back. Now that they have been able to achieve this court judgment, you know, would they really practice according to, or are we going to begin to see the dividends, you know, in the local government across the country? You know, so of course the committee has a huge task to monitor and oversee, to see to it that you know, what the chairmen are properly monitored. You know, if not, what they accuse the governors of doing, yes, would just naturally be what the chairman now will become. They will become fat and bloated, you know, with our money.
All right. Does this already tell us the fact that even the government themselves, those are at the executive level, the presidency, they kind of have an idea that the state governors is going to make it difficult for local government to, you know, have these funds and spend it wisely. For you, which other method do you think we can use to ensure that these monies are actually well spent by the local government councils in the 774 local governments without governors interfering?
There's going to be a big challenge ahead of us, either we like it or not.
Okay.
The reason being that, number one, most of these local government chairmen are being appointed by the state governors. So the issue, that is the name. But is that what we practice? You know better than I do. It is all about selection, imposition of candidates. So when that comes to play, definitely the issue of loyalty will still be there. The local government chairman will want to be loyal to the governor to retain the seat. That being said, we move to the next. We are made to understand that there is a huge difference between policy formulation and policy implementation.
Sure.
And the moment you are able to formulate a policy, you give it a holistic review of how it is going to work out. That being said, you implement according to the policies laid down during the formulation stage. Then supervision comes to mind. But in this country, we model up virtually everything because we don't have the interest of the masses at heart. Despite the fact that we've been clamoring for this autonomy for ages, it has come, but I bet you the story will not be different.
Do you think anti-graft agencies like EFCC, ICPC, and probably civil societies can play a role to ensure that this challenge you're forecasting does not come to pass?
But we have to take a look at the precedents, or antecedents rather, of governance before now. The anti-graft agencies have been on ground. We've seen cases where they declare a governor wanted, and I don't know if the governor will become invisible all of a sudden, or he will just evaporate.
Are you referring to your governor Kogi State?
Okay, that's a good example you have mentioned there. In fact, at a point in time, the EFCC chairman made a vow, made a commitment that he must arrest that man. But today the story is different. And the question that comes to mind is, has he suddenly become invisible? Has he evaporated into the thin air? He doesn't have security details. He doesn't have existence anywhere in the country. So if that is the case, then you begin to question the integrity of these agencies you have mentioned. How far have they been able to live up to expectation? And because they have set a very bad precedence in the past, I tell you what, the number of Nigerians waiting for opportunities to embezzle or eat the national cake, as we usually refer to, is much, much, much higher than the number of people that are already there. If given the opportunity, everybody will want to go and make the economy dry because there is no punishment at the end of it all.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. The team you see as those who are going to supervise and ensure the implementation, are you confident they will get the job done, or do you think they have too much in their hands already? We've got the Secretary of
Anthony, no matter the kind of team we are trying to set up, I feel we are not short of laws in this country when it comes to governance, but it's enforcement. You know, how do we ensure that at the end of the day, you know, whether you have EFCC or whatever, they will not only back but bite.
But we've not really seen the security agencies mentioned. Should they be the key people in these drivers in terms to ensure that
absolutely.
Prudent.
But why are they there? You know, if they will not be part of this process, you know, and it's a very important one at that, you know, and the local government council is the, you know, the very, like everybody says, you know, the
that is the grassroots. That is the grassroots.
Yes, you know, and so if the people must feel the effect of any governance in the country, you know, it must start from the local government, you know, level. You know, but like she said, we have so many laws, but how do we, you know, implement these laws?
That is it. The law is meant for me, the poor and the opposition.
For me, I think we have to go to the drawing table and maybe take a look again at our laws to see, you know, there are some very simple ABC things that I would say, you know, that can be done. For instance, you know, if you are running for political office or you want to be chairman of a local government and even governor per se, you know, let it be said that you will not, no matter what kind of illness you have, you will not go abroad to treat it. You must take your treatment in Nigeria. Your children, your immediate family, none of them will school abroad. They will all school here. You know, very simple. At the end of the day, you discover that this hot race of wanting to become governor, or it will not be so glamorous. People will not be, you know, attracted to it because there's so much, you know, that is demanded of you. You know, once upon a time, China, when they wanted to transform their economy, they had to even close down borders. Yeah. For 10 years.
10 years.
We need such drastic measures, not building laws, you know.
Theoretically.
Yes, and we know
our laws are theory-based.
Exactly, but how effective it is. But very simple thing. You want to become local government chairman. When you are sick, you will not go abroad.
All right, let's, wrapping up this conversation on this issue, how key is INEC in all of this process to ensure that during the elections of these, regardless of the influence of state governors, the election of would-be local government council chairman, that it's going to be transparent, and for all the political parties, how key is their role to ensure that there's a level playing ground without imposition of any kind, so that the people at the grassroots will truly get those they really want to lead them?
Now, talking about interference, you know, how independent is INEC? You know, and as long as, you know, government is the one that it's more of he who pays the piper that takes the tune. You know, it's independent. You know, when
how independent?
Yes, it's INEC. You know, and when it is the president that appoints who becomes the chairman of INEC, you know, and even sometimes the governors too are influential to who becomes the state
resident electoral commissioner.
Exactly. So of course you would want to do the bidding of the person that brought you there, and you know that makes it extremely difficult until we separate completely, make INEC independent. I will not assure you that there will not be such interferences. All
right, in case you're just joining us, you're watching the Desk on Global Television. We'll go for a very quick break. When we return, we've got some other very interesting talking points as Northern leaders plan a summit to strategize for 2027. We'll be looking at the implication of that strategy ahead of 2027. We'll also be looking at some other very interesting talking points that will be coming as we're also looking at 2027. APC kicks as PDP backs the return of former President Goodluck Jonathan for the race. This and more after this break. Stay with us. How are we doing?
Very well.
All right, welcome back from the break. You're still watching the desk on Global Television, and I still have my guest to my far left is Gabriel Zakaria, an ace journalist right here in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, and I've got Dr. Aisha Schreiber, who is a public affairs analyst, helping us look at a very salient issue from the female and gender perspective. We're trying to be balanced right here. All right, let's move on to the big talking point as regards the issues making the rounds in Africa's biggest black nation, Nigeria, and we're looking at the issue of 2027. We already hear that the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, has thrown its weight behind the call for former President Goodluck Jonathan to join the presidential race for 2027. In the past few weeks, there has been growing rumor that northern elites and politicians are not happy with President Bola Tinubu's administration and subtly yearning for a change of government in the next election. 4 days ago, Bauchi State Governor Senator Bala Mohammed also lent his voice to the agitation, vowing to jettison his presidential ambition if Jonathan agrees to contest. Aisha, let's look at this. Do you think you want Goodluck Jonathan? Do you think he has the charisma and the support and the love and from Nigerians and for the PDP? Do you think he's the best man to lead them back into the race?
One of the major challenges we have as a nation is this recycling of leaders. We have tested him. We have seen what he can offer. Then, why going back? That is being retrospective. Because we need to look at the foundation, the fundamentals here. I could remember watching the former CBN governor, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, and the former Minister of Finance, Professor Okonjo-Iweala, reiterating on a particular fact when they were in power. And that fact was that with the excess revenue we were getting during Jonathan, and we are not able to save for the rainy day, whoever becomes the president of Nigeria 2015 going forward will find it difficult to lead. This happened under Jonathan. Although, to a very large extent, it wasn't entirely his doing, because he, at a point, opposed to the idea of sharing the excess that was coming in. He was taken to the court by the Governors Forum, and a judge ruled to the governor's favor, and that money was shared to the states. But what happened to that money being shared? Today, it is history. So, if you ask me, I will tell you, from my own personal opinion, that we have tested him, then we don't see any reason why he is coming back. All right? We should be able to sample people that have that willpower, that independence. I don't want to believe that there are no credible Nigerians that can rule us, despite the age, despite the gender. I think we have people that can live up to expectation without going back to those that have ruled us before.
All right, Zachary, let's look at the fact that Atiku Abubakar remains a factor in the PDP and did go for the presidency last elections. How come the PDP, faithful, the party, seemed to want to go back to Goodluck Jonathan? Was it because he had lots of applause when he left power without trying to retain power by all costs and became an international ambassador to for democracy? Do you think the PDP feels that he is the best person to lead their cause? do you think people like Atiku would back that move by northern leaders?
All right, be that as it may, honestly, you know, it sends butterfly to my stomach. If just a year into this present administration, politicians are already beginning to scheme
for 2027.
That is political permutation.
When
it's allowed.
No, we are grappling with economic, you know, and insecurity. I mean, we're talking about what they are really not interested in our suffering. They are really not even interested in what is happening to us now. Every politician that has, you know, one time or the other, in the recent past, when I say recent past, maybe from 15 years, you know, downwards, that has ruled or in any way been in any political office, for that, especially for that of president, should for now, on a very serious note, you know, just let Nigerian be. Let's.
So you don't agree he's the best foot forward for the PDP?
He should be an elder statesman.
No. Exactly.
Be a hand behind the
Let there be a
scene.
departure.
Select or throw his weight behind someone
these
that.
Politicians, we have tried them, and this is where they have been able to bring us. There's nothing they have forgotten to do.
And the question is, what is he going to do differently?
Exactly. You know, so let's not recycle them, but more importantly, you know, let our politicians put their heads together and see how we can come out of this quadrum of economic disaster that we find ourselves in. Nigerians are crying. We are not looking forward to 2027. Are there no Nigerians that would, you know, would they be alive by 2027?
All right, we hope good luck, Jonathan, the PDP, and those calling for his return would answer that question being posted by Zachary and Aisha this evening. Let's move on to the next talking point as we look at the education sector, where we've got the big story as regards fake degrees, Uganda and Kenya in the news this evening. Examination boards in Kenya and Uganda, talking about East Africa now, are now writing Nigeria to verify records presented by Nigerian candidates seeking admissions into tertiary institutions in their countries. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board made this known in a document for the 2024 policy meeting. JAM noted in their document that it would not falsify the records of any student while stressing the need to protect Nigeria's tertiary education from disrepute. The development comes on the back of the federal government's decision to suspend the verification of degree certificates from Uganda, Kenya, Benin Republic, Togo, and some other countries over the allegations of certificate racketeering. Aisha, let's look at this. Do you think this is a positive or negative repercussion for what played out during Umar Audu's investigation that proved that some universities did give very faulty certificates to Nigerians?
Yeah. We have established that fact earlier in the course of this program, that Nigeria has become a dumping ground for virtually everything. There is no exception to any sector. So if we want to redeem the image of this country, then we should be able to re-strategize. We should be able to put up some efforts that will help at least give us credence, especially in the area of education. Because education is one sector that embroiders virtually every other
But don't
sector.
you think this will make it difficult for genuine Nigerian students who want to seek higher education?
That is the problem. That is why I said to at least give us some level of sanity as a country. Respect. Our integrity is at stake. So those that have genuine certificates are going to be affected. There's no doubt about that. Reason why the government will have to sit hands on deck to see how we can eradicate this issue. There are bodies. If you are a primary school leaver, you have primary school certificates. If you are a secondary school, you have WAEC, you have NECO, NAPTEB, and other bodies. Then if you are a graduate, your school should be able to provide your transcripts. So all these institutions put in place should be able to live up to expectation. Because if what is happening is to continue, at a point in time when other countries see Nigerians on the street, they will be like, oh, look at them. And that is not going to be a good one.
Okay, for you, this must be a plus to Nigeria, and the fact that other countries are now responding, seeking for verification. Are you worried that the bureaucracy of Nigerian Ministry of Education and other MDAs and parastatal might also endanger genuine Nigerian students? Because we know it takes a longer time for MDAs to respond to queries and also even applications, and the issue of corruption that you have to bribe for you to get feedbacks. How bad would this be?
Yeah, I think it has always been like this for some time now. That most Nigerians who go to countries like UK and United States, if you have to go into maybe higher learning, or you want to start a job and you bring a certificate from Nigeria, you'll be made to go through some basics exams, so ascertain whether you know what you're saying. But it's bad enough that even our sister African countries too are beginning to reject us. It tells of the state of our education.
Could we say we shot ourselves in the foot by that move by the federal government?
Yes. In fact, if you ask me, I would even say we should declare a state of emergency in education. Our education is in comatose, and it is coming at the time where there's a proliferation of, higher institutions all over the country, and yet Nigerian is, we have the highest number of out-of-school children with over 15 million out-of-school children, especially in the north and northeast, and this kind of thing at all doesn't spell well for our country.
All right, a very sad commentary for the education sector, but we hope things will turn out better with the verification by the Ministry of Education and also by the Nigerian students. We hope the right things are done. Let's move on to labor matters, where it's like a time bomb waiting to explode as Nigerian workers in the telecom sector and the electricity sectors have threatened to shut down the national grid and telecom services at midnight Wednesday. That's exactly today, if the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, is arrested by the Nigerian Police Force. This was contained in a separate notice on Tuesday by the General Secretaries of the National Union of Electricity Employees and the National Union of Postal and Telecommunications Employees, Dominic Igwe-Bike and Mary Nwosu, respectively. This comes after the police, in a letter on Monday, summoned Ajero for questioning on Tuesday over alleged link to terrorism financing and other allegations. You're smiling already. Do you think this is just down to the fact that Nigerians don't trust the Nigerian police force, and they feel like, because one would say, why don't you go hear them out, let the interview go on? Why is it that there's this sense of mistrust for the Nigerian police force, and that's why Labour is using all its itinerary to put stopgap measures?
Before we even go to the issue of trust in the police, the Ajero-led NLC has been able to, put himself and brother himself in so many issues, politics, and now even case of terror. It's sad. I don't think the NLC has ever been in this kind of situation. They should get their acts together. Earlier he was, accused of being involved in politics, and the case of
in the Imo State where he was manhandled.
Exactly, and then was the demand there, and now terrorism. They need to put their acts together, and if you don't have anything to hide, why are you scared of the police? And it reminds me of the governor that when the security...
Well, are you saying you're unaware that the Nigerian police at times have had people arrested unjustly, and this crowd, when they arrest people just on the sidelines, people who have...
If you say yes, it happens to ordinary Nigerians who don't know their rights, I will not dispute that. I think I agree. But for high-level Nigerians who know their rights, when the police come for them, they must have, some information about them. The police, Nigerian police, do not just, the powerful Nigerian, somebody as high as the president of the NLC, and the police want you for questioning, then they have information about you that needs to be answered.
All right, let's look at, do you think the labor union, they're being unfair, saying they're going to shut down national grid and also the telecommunication services?
Why must we be always at the receiving end? Each time they have a personal issue to grind, with the police or with the state, when the NLC president has a personal issue, Nigerians will suffer. They'll shut down national grid.
Fight of the titans.
Okay, but do you agree to an extent that this fight, the police is like fighting on behalf of the federal government because of the issue of the
obviously
and bad governance?
Obviously, we have said it over and over again, and like he said, he who plays the piper dictates the tone. The government appoints the IG of police. It is no longer an issue of a police commission bringing out. No, they are all anointed. So he must play allegiance. We have said this on this program. So the issue here is the two parties, talking about the presidency and the NLC, are trying to show who is more powerful. But again, where two elephants fight, the grass suffers. When the two of them begin to wrestle muzzles, the Nigerian citizens are going to be the one to bear the brunt of it all. So, like I said here on this program some time ago, there is need for them to always dialogue, putting the interest of Nigerians first before their personal interest. If they are able to do that holistically, then they'll be able to shift ground for one another and come to a compromise. But where you want to show a superior power, then things will continue to go bad. The Nigerian police, to a very large extent, play to the side of the presidency, is understandable. But even at that, there is no way you can separate NLC from politics, if you ask me.
Why? But they're supposed to be focused on labor issues.
What are the labor issues? Labor issues narrow down to the policies of the government as it benefits the Nigerian populace, the Nigerian workers.
Yeah, but they are not
who is the presidency?
Who
is the presidency presiding over? Nigerians, of course. And who are the Nigerians? The workforce. Every policy of the government directly affects the Nigerian workforce, whichever we want to look at it. But what I don't expect the labor to do is to take it as a personal fight of vendetta. If they are able to spell out the roles they are to play and take a stance, they will be well respected for that.
All right, let's hope this doesn't turn out ugly. So we look forward to a peaceful resolution of the conflict already getting ground. So, all right, let's move on to our last talking point before we call it a wrap. We're looking at alleged fraud, where it's been said that the Kano State Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission has arrested Garba Musa Kwankwaso, a nephew to the new Nigerian People's Party NNPP presidential candidate in Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, the permanent secretary, Ministry of Local Government, and the chairman, Association of Local Government of Nigeria, Algon, Kano State chapter, over their alleged involvement in a drug supply fraud to the 44 local government areas. The agency earlier picked Alhaji Muhammad Kabawa, the permanent secretary of the State and Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, over the alleged multi-billion naira drug supply scam, then went ahead to arrest others involved in the alleged deal. Also arrested by the commission is the chairman of the state branch of the Algon, Abdullahi Bashir, who is also the chairman of the Turuni local government area. The suspects were accused of connivance to award the contract to Novomed Pharmaceuticals for the supply of drugs to 38 local government areas in the state, violating public procurement laws. Preliminary investigation, according to the commission, revealed that each of the 38 local governments paid 9.1 million naira to Novomed for the procurement of drugs, but the drugs were not supplied. Zachary, let's look at this. This is a huge one, and the fact that it has to do with NNPP, presidential candidate's nephew. Does that make it a little bit political, or does it make it very interesting? And to also know that the party in place in Kano, the relationship and all that. How do you see this playing out?
Well, if it is not a political witch hunt, it's something in the right direction. Of course, that's what we've been saying over and over again. No matter how highly placed someone is, once you contravene, you go against the law, or you don't do that which you're supposed to do, it should get you arrested. There's nobody who should be so powerful, Konkoso's nephew or cousin, like you said. It's somebody that maybe at points you may think he cannot be touched.
Untouchable, yeah.
Yes, in Kano. But exposing this kind of thing, by him shows that there's no one that cannot be touched.
But Aisha, as we wrap up the discourse for you, are you impressed with the fact that this is going on and such fraud being exposed? Does that put the NNPP in good light?
If there are proofs, evidences to show that he actually carried out such fraudulent activities, then why not? He should be made to answer. He should be responsible for his own deeds. But
are you worried it might be swept under the carpet somewhere along the line?
That is the Nigerian factor. We will not be surprised. We will not be surprised because so many issues worse than this has been swept under the carpet. And there's nothing anybody can do because that is the Nigerian factor, like we have always said. It depends on how far the two parties can go. If he is able to maneuver as usual, that is what they do. They is able to maneuver, fine. But having a political undertone is another factor like you have raised. Again, that's a Nigerian factor. Most times we tend to accuse an opposition.
Okay, all right.
It is something that we are familiar with because this is Nigeria.
All right, that's how much time is going to let us take. I want to say thank you to Gabriel Zachary, is journalist right here in the Federal Capital Territory, for joining us on the desk and for his very valid and balanced analysis. Likewise, Dr. Aisha Schreiber, who also did give us her own take as regards all the talking points from the global scene down to national levels. I want to say thank you for joining us on this set.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
All right, my name is Anthony Momodu saying thank you for joining me once again on the desk. Let's do this again tomorrow. Good evening.